For long, I have some things I want to do today as far as some other games, so I'm not going to be playing a lot of Neverwinter today. Also, feeling a little under the weather, as you can hear. I'm sorry. Yeah, so hopping into what I want to cover today is I'm just going to do a quick, or somewhat quick, guide to my Hunter Ranger as I finished leveling it and hit level 70 on it already. We are quickly approaching, I should say, the release of the Ravenloft Path tier on PS4, so I am still heavily grinding all of my characters. I currently have 3 left to go, and then all my characters will be done. Hopefully I'll get those done next week or this weekend, so all of those will be ready to go for you guys. But heading into this character, the basics of my character is that I took a elf. So with the elf, reason I took elf is I just wanted the extra crit chance. Elves as a character give you extra crit chance, so I wanted to make sure I got that. As you can see right here, my elven accuracy gives me a 1% higher crit chance than other races, so I really wanted that. So I made sure to grab that when I grabbed this character. I also get 10% resistance to slow effects, and since I want to be a ranger and I want to kind of move around, this is kind of just useful to me overall. But heading into stats and stuff like that, I mainly focused dexterity. I grabbed some wisdom as well in order to grab the extra crit chance, and then I also grabbed some strength for the defenses ignored. So I don't have to run quite as much armor pen as I would need to, but I still am going to end up having grabbed some extra armor pen later as I get more gear and stuff onto this character and everything like that. But this is what my stats basically look like. Right now I have 29 dex. This is not exactly as high as you will get, you'll be able to get just from stats. Like when you look at my overall stats, I just went straight into dex and then a bunch of whiz and grabbed a little bit of strength. But I basically, the reason I just want to crit a lot, and then I wanted to do, and then dex gives us our maximum damage. The reason mine is at 29 is because of my gear. So currently my gear, I just, as all of my fresh 70s, I just am currently wearing the gear you get from the epic tokens at inside of Neverwinter, that basic stuff. And then I have the elemental axe. I will upgrade this, but I still have some more of the campaigns to get done on this character, and then I'll upgrade this and get this higher, and then I'll upgrade this stuff and get all these higher and run through all of that. But basically my epics are all pretty much just basic gear. I'm running dark enchantments. I do not have dark 7s on this character yet, or rank 7s on this character yet. I will get those over to him when I have the time, but right now I just don't have it. I'm just really focusing on gearing my characters, but right now I have the enchantments I would want for starting out, so it's fine the way it is. Pretty much everything is a dark enchantment as far as utility and stuff like that. I'm running Azure enchantments for defensive slots, just for the flat defense boost. My bow does not currently have an enchantment because it is just kind of a weapon I found while I was running some epic dungeons later, but for right now, until I get a new weapon, it's pretty good. It's decent. I'm running darks on here just for the armor pen because I need that. Again, I'm lacking an armor pen right now and I need that. So the rest of my stuff as far as utility, I already have drow clothes. I'm running a dark in that and then I'm running an Azure. This is my belt. This is my artifact belt. This is the item I will probably use all the way up till endgame. This gives me plus to dexterity, which gives me flat damage, and then it has power crit and armor pen, and then I used a utility slot for, am I taking damage? Oh, and then I used the utility slot for, the utility slot currently on it is, for dark enchantment, and then I'll probably run an Azure enchantment as well for defense, or something else along those lines when I get higher gear for this, but this is probably going to be my endgame artifact. I'm currently running 2 Everfrost rings, or Australian rings of Dodd, and then I'm running some armor pen on those. So again, it's dark enchantments and then Azure enchantments on both of them, just extra defense and extra armor pen. And then overall, this gives me power and critical strike. And then the last artifact item I'm using is a Lost Mouse Horde necklace. This gives me power, critical strike, and armor pen. And then I have a it also increases my action point gain. And then I have a utility slot of movement for it, and then whenever I get Whenever I get the chance, I will probably throw another dark enchantment in here or something along those lines that gives me power and some armor pen if I still need it. But this is what my gear looks like basically, and what I'm kind of tailing towards. So my stats currently look like, as far as everything, just basically heading through a lot of power, a lot of crit, a lot of armor pen. Right now I need more armor pen. I definitely need a lot more armor pen as I get more geared, but overall this is good. Don't look at the damage numbers so much. I am currently down leveled because I'm waiting for this dragon to come up, and I'll hopefully get that to do at the end of this video. But into my powers, my main setup with my powers is seismic shots as my first daily. I use forest meditation as my second daily. I basically just use this for health. I don't really plan on maintaining this, but I was using it for when I was running skirmishes just because I didn't want to burn through all my healing potions and stuff like that. It's just a free heal if I can't rely on a healer. I did use Aspect of the Pack. I do currently use Aspect of the Pack. So what Aspect of the Pack does is it gives me and allies within a 20 meter radius up to 25 meter radius combat advantage. So just boost my damage overall. I do use aim shot. I use this on my L2. This is my single target damage. It has a slow kind of charge to it. It looks like this, if I can get into range of that. There we go. It looks like that. It has a kind of slow charge, so I typically only use it for single target. And then for AoE packs, I typically use lightning arrow. Lightning arrow chains to other mobs. You get it at level 35. So here's what like electric shot does. It fires a storm-based arrow and it hits any enemies around your main target. So it's good for AoE packs, but it's not so great for single targets, which is why I used aim shot. Aim shot also reduces the cooldowns of my currently used powers, so it's really good for single target for letting me get through all of my rotations. I use Split the Sky. This is my AoE and single target damage. So what this essentially does is it just puts up this big circle, as you can see here, and does AoE damage and lightning bolts to enemies in its radius. Its radius is fairly large, so you shouldn't have too many issues hitting mobs with this. But just in case you do, I also have this current arrow, which pulls all the mobs together and allows you to and it does damage on its initial hit, so that you get way later. Up to strip the shot. I will probably use this overall when I get into party raids and stuff like that, because it's better than forest meditation, and forest meditation is kind of just a solo thing, but disrupt the shot is more of a useful tool. I do use commanding shot instead of typically people run long strider shot. I prefer commanding shot. It gives me damage, gives me a damage buff, and it also reduces the damage my enemies deal. So I prefer this, especially for bosses. It just makes it just gives me a lot more single target damage and a lot more focus damage for my boss killings. So I definitely prefer this. And then the other passive I run is Twin Blade Storm, which gives me increased damage anytime I hit more than 2 enemies. And then it starts at 4% and maxes out at 20%. So I definitely prefer this overall. If I get into certain circumstances with certain bosses that are turned away from me, Secret Vengeance is also an option. It gives me 10% increased damage to any time I'm attacking a foe who's behind me, or I'm attacking a foe from behind, and that maxes out at 19% damage overall. So this is nice, but overall the Twin Blade Storm is just my preferred. The last thing I use is Cordon of Arrows. Cordon of Arrows is one of the last abilities you'll get in the game. So that was that short AoE. Is this one right here. It can be used 3 times. Recovery affects it. So what it does is it puts down this arrow, and any enemies that run into it are pulled to the center of it, and it also deals damage. So as you can see right here, it just pulls them all to the center, and because I'm so strong for this area, it's going to kill them, but you can see what it does. So the kind of uses you want to use for this are to go Cordon of Arrows and then go into this. Because it lets you get guaranteed damage overall, and guarantees your damage to be here. That's what I use as far as powers. For leveling, I would definitely say it's not really plausible to do that. So for leveling, I did level Rain of Arrows. I leveled Stormwarden and I leveled Constricting Arrow. Those were my main kind of leveling skills because they just made it easier to kite things and kind of move around. I don't prefer any other skill comparably to those. I did use Stormwarden for a little while until I got Split the Sky. Stormwarden is definitely decent, and I actually kept Stormwarden around all the way up until I got Cordon of Arrows, because pretty much Cordon of Arrows overall's damage will outweigh it. But I definitely felt like the damage debuff that Stormwarden does and the consistent damage it does is very nice overall. But I definitely feel like overall, Cordon of Arrows, because of the massive damage it does on its initial hit, I just feel like it outweighs the damage it does overall from Stormwarden. Heading into feats. Wait, how much time do I have here? I got 3 minutes. Okay. Heading into feats here. I completely tailored their character to only focusing on its range tree. I do not really care about switching weapons or anything like that. I have a Trickster Rogue if I want to play a melee class like that. So I don't intend on using melee skills to that effect. So instead, I completely focused into my archery tree and everything like that. So I went with 3 into critical strike, 3 into maximum life, 5 into my daily powers dealing additional damage, which again is why I would switch over force medication or more force meditation for a disruptive shot instead, because then you can use disruptive shot quite a bit, and it gives you an interrupt as well as just spammable build, because it only costs 25% of your action points, so in total you can use it about 4 times once the cooldown's up, and you'll probably regenerate the action points required to use it, so you can pretty much spam it on bosses essentially, ignoring the cooldown overall. I did grab just 1 point into less threat. The stamina regeneration I already taken care of, and I'm not going to be switching stances, so I don't want to use this. They would be wasted points, which is why again we just went with the full daily power damage. I grabbed the increase in counter power damage. I did not grab switching melee stance again. I don't plan to switch to melee stance, and then I also did not grab the deflection chance because this is more PvP based to me, so I don't particularly need it for PvE based builds. I didn't grab the increased action point gain. I already grabbed the increased action point damage, and I already am getting increased action point gain anyways, so it's not incredibly necessary. And I also grabbed the at-will damage deals more power, or my at-will powers deal more damage to foes not targeting me. So for single target I get, or just in general. What's up? What's up, Maury? Sorry, I am currently just running through a quick guide here, so I'll talk about it in a second, but let me finish up this. I did grab Disciple of Dexterity. So what this does is increases the bonus damage I get from Dexterity by 6%. This is pretty useful for me and overall in ability, especially because I'm stacking so much dex as far as my stats are concerned. This gives me just a lot of flat damage. The first thing I grabbed, because I went through this, I grabbed 5% more action points gained while in range stance, just my range powers. I then grabbed the increased duration with the sky. The longer it lasts, the more damage I can get output, and as well as it ensures that it comes off cooldown while still being up, so I can recast it immediately and not lose any damage output from it. And then grab long shot, so my critical range attacks also deal 25% of my weapon damage as piercing damage. This gives me extra damage, as piercing damage ignores all of my enemy's armor, so this guarantees maximum kind of damage output from it. This bonus is doubled for counter powers and triple for dailies, so it's really useful for that. And then one with Bottomless Quiver. So this gives my range powers a shorter cooldown, which works really well in synergy with Stormcaller's Arrow, because it lets me keep Split the Sky up as active as possible, and it also lets me keep Commanding Shot up as active as possible, because I want to make sure I have as much damage output from those. I then grabbed Rising Focus. This grants me increased critical strike and critical severity, as well as more power. It stacks up to 3 times and it lasts for 6 seconds, so you can pretty much keep. I am going to help kill this dragon so you guys can see the build in action and everything like that. So I'll do that real quick and then I'll finish up. This shouldn't take that long as logically. So as always, I open up with Commanding Shot. I want to get. I open up with I open up with commanding shot all the times because I want to guarantee the bonus damage as well as damage reduction. So I'm always opening up with that, and then I roll through the rest of my abilities. Storm the Sky is already going to be up. And then it's pretty much just spamming Charged Arrow because that guarantees extra damage. So that kills that dragon really quick. What did you say? You can't. You guys already got the update? Did you guys wait? Did you guys already get the? Are you guys already getting the Ravenloft update? I didn't realize that. I thought ours Ravenloft update is not coming out until the 28th, so I didn't realize other regions might already have it. But that's really cool. But finishing up. Back to what I was saying. The last feats I grabbed. So yeah, Rising Focus gives me the increased critical strike chance, 5% increased critical strikes severity. Stacks up 3 times, so 15% increased critical strike severity, and then 15% increased power just from damage. The last thing I get is Predator. Predator gives me marks my foe as prey, which means I do 50% more damage to my prey. I can only have one prey at a time, so for AoEs...
In Germany is update, I don't know.
In general, Predator is really good for AoEs, because it gives you that, like, it's not really great for AoEs because it only marks one of your targets, but for single target it's really good because it boosts your damage by 50%. It makes you a really good boss killer, and everything like that. But for AoEs it's a little bit different. It switches targets every 20 seconds or as soon as one of them dies, so it can be useful, but it's not entirely as useful as it is for single target. Heading back through the tree, that's when I started grabbing things like Unflinching Aim, which gives me my range cards deal 20% more damage. Aim Shot decreases the recharge time of my current powers by 1 second every time I use it, so this just helps me really spam out my powers. I then grabbed Broad-Headed Arrows, which gives me 5% additional critical strike chance, just flat basic critical chance. And then the last thing I grabbed is the Ghost Walker, which gives me more stamina whenever I'm in range stance, so I can just dodge abilities easier. But that's pretty much everything involved with this build, and everything as far as my Hunter Ranger, as far as he goes, and everything that's covered with him. There's not really much else I can say about this build. It's pretty fun overall. It was a little bit weird leveling up because it's you kind of have to wait in between them for a while, between your actual getting abilities, and like good abilities and bad abilities are kind of weird. And it's kind of a zone control class, at least the way I play it. When you play it as a arrowed class, it's kind of just a zone control class. So you get a lot of zone control, a lot of area control, but you don't have exact huge amounts of consistent damage, at least the way I set this up. So it's strong in terms of how much damage output it can do, but it's kind of weak in terms of absolute mobility. As far as like melee classes styles would go, it would probably be a little bit better in terms of that, but again, I already have a Trickster Rogue. I don't really plan on playing this like a Trickster Rogue, so I don't really plan on doing any types of melee with this class. I want to focus more as a ranger. But overall, it's actually a pretty solid class. I definitely kind of recommend it as a starter class because it's so easy to play and it requires so little to deal pretty decent damage. I definitely recommend it overall as a starting class. It was not my first class. Again, my first class was always an Oathbound Paladin, so that was a little bit more difficult as far as leveling. This class definitely has more damage overall for leveling, as far as I can tell. But it definitely feels very comfortable overall. But I'm gonna head out here, guys. Thanks everybody who stopped by. Thanks for everybody who followed. Maury, thanks for stopping by. I will be streaming again later, but today I really just wanted to get this guide out and talked about my build for a little bit. But I don't intend to stream all that long today because I'm just not feeling very well today. But thanks everybody who stopped by. I'll catch you all later. Maury, Germany update?
No problem.
Germany update? Interesting. I'm gonna have to look into that. I'm gonna check their Twitter and see what's going on with that. But yeah, I'll catch everybody later. I do plan on streaming more next week and possibly the weekend. It depends how I'm feeling, so I hope I start feeling a little bit better and I can get back to streaming. But thanks everybody. I'll catch you all later. Nuie out.